Welcome back to part 2. Yes, I did film these back to back. So now we're going to be doing a completely different topic, performing function and operations. And now my other dog apparently wants to say hi. Say hi, Sneaky. This is Snickers. The other one was Peanut. She's getting mad that I'm not playing with her. All right. All right, so yes, we are doing a completely new topic now. And function operations. So we're taking all the different types of functions that we learned and we're adding them, subtracting them, multiplying, dividing them, talking about the domain and range. Yes. So a little bit different than what we've been doing, but it's all part of the same chapter. We're going to start with adding, and then we're going to do one of each. So again, these notes are going to be posted on Google Classroom. Okay, adding functions. I know it's a little blurry, guys. I'm doing the best I can. I'm sorry. So if I give you f of x equals 3 square root of x, and g of x equals negative 10 square root of x, I want you guys to find f plus g of x, which means add them together. So luckily for you guys, I started off nice and easy, and these are like radicals, so you can just add the two numbers together. So we have learned that earlier on. So 3 plus negative 10 is negative 7x. Now I might ask you to evaluate. So I might say evaluate when x equals 4. So if I want you to evaluate when x equals 4, I'm going to plug a 4 in for x. Like back in school, I'm covering a marker again. Oh, just knock that over. Okay. All right. So that would equal square root of 4 is 2. Negative 7 times 2 is negative 14. All right. So the only other thing we have to talk about is domain and range. So we're talking square root functions, right? Actually, we're not even going to do range. We're just going to do domain. I don't even know why I said just domain. So we're talking about what x values can even be plugged into that function where we can find an answer. So remember, with square roots, with our rules, you cannot have a negative number underneath an even root. So when you have even functions, your domain is x is greater than or equal to 0. When you have odd functions, your domain is all real numbers. So in this case, our domain is x is greater than or equal to 0, because you can't have negatives. Easy enough? I hope. All right, so now we're going to do subtracting. Okay, subtracting. So say I give you f of x equals 3x cubed minus 2x squared plus 5. And g of x equals x cubed minus 3x squared plus 4x minus 2. And I want you to find for me f minus g. Now you have to be careful when you're looking here, because sometimes they don't do f minus g, sometimes they do g minus f, and they try to trick you. So you have to make sure you're doing the order in which they want. They want f minus g, okay? So when I subtract, I'm taking this function and subtracting everything from this function, right? And then we combine like terms. So I'm going to start with cube, because you want to write them in order, standard form. You guys know that. So 3x cubed minus x cubed is 2x cubed. Okay. negative 2x squared minus negative 3x squared changes that minus 3 to a plus. So negative 2 plus 3 is plus 1. You can write the 1 if you want, x squared. There is no other x function, so 0 minus 4x, negative 4x. 5 minus a negative becomes plus. 5 plus 2 is 7. So that is my new function, and it's cubic because the highest degree is to the third power. So this is an odd function, meaning your domain is all real numbers because it's an odd. Does that make sense? I hope. Okay. So now I want you to evaluate when x equals negative 2. So I want f minus g of negative 2, which means I'm going to plug a negative 2 in for every single x. And remember, I taught you guys when you plug in numbers, when you replace numbers and put them in, to put them in parentheses. You have to do that here, otherwise your exponents are going to get messed up. So I have 2 negative 2 cubed plus negative 2 squared minus 4 times negative 2 plus 7. And I get 3. Okay. And there we go. That's subtracting. Okay, can you guess what's next? For those of you that in your head or actually said multiplying out loud. Good job. Luckily, this lesson is not only easier, I think, than the last one, it's also shorter too. You have to listen to me talk as long. So now we're doing multiplying. Okay, so I want f of x, I'm going to write that in red. F of x to equal x squared, and g of x to equal the square root of x. Okay, so now they're a little bit different. They're not really the same. And I want you to find f times g of x. Now, since they're not the same, we have to do something to make them the same. We have to do something to be able to put them together. In my personal opinion, I think it's easier to change radicals into exponents, and then you can just do what you want to properties of exponents. So this is where I would ask you guys, how do you rewrite the square root of x into an exponent? And hopefully you guys remember base over root, and roots grow in the ground. And this is the same as x to the 1/2. Okay, so now I have x squared times x to the 1/2. And I would say when you multiply, you do what to the exponents? And I would hope that most of you would say add them. Okay, so 2 plus 1/2. Please don't write 2.5. Don't do a mixed number as an exponent. So if you don't know that off the top of your head, I do. I'm just showing you. Just simply put it in the calculator. You see that? There we go. And you get x to the 5/2. Okay. All right. So now we have to look at domain, right? This is a square root function. Square root, meaning you can't have negatives underneath the radical. So the domain is restricted to only positive numbers. So x is greater than or equal to 0. Last step, I want to give you something to evaluate. I'm going to say, what about when x is 9? So what is 9 to the 5/2? The square root of 9 is 3. 3 to the 5th is 243. You also could have done 9 to the 5 halves is 243. And we're done with multiplying. Last one, dividing. Okay, dividing. So if I give you f of x equals 6x, and g of x equals x to the 3/4, right? Find f divided by g of x. So f divided by g is f divided by g. Now I hope you guys that remember whenever you have an x, that's an invisible little exponent 1 there. Okay, so I hope you guys remember that. This is when I would ask you guys, it's so weird not having you guys with me. I really do miss you guys. I hope you guys know that. 1 minus 3/4, because when you divide, you subtract the exponents. So 6 over 1 is just 6, and then 1 minus 3/4 is x to the 1/4, and 1 is larger than 3/4, so it stays all in the numerator. If you want to put this all over 1, no problem. I wouldn't mark that wrong. Okay, so since this is a fourth root is even. So once again, my domain is restricted to only positive numbers. Okay. And then I want, last but not least, I just want to give you a number to plug in. I'm going to say 16. So f divided by g times of 16, right? Fourth root of 16, or 16 to the 1/4 is 2. 6 times 2 equals 12. So that's it. So again, guys, feel free to email me any questions, but I do love when you put them as class comments on Google Classroom so you guys can all see them and talk it out together. If you need help, I'll put notes. I'll put more YouTube videos other than myself. Just keep in mind, sometimes people do things a little bit differently than I do. So I hope that this was able to help you, and I'll see you in part 3.